recent election, looked at the way the men and the women kind of broke down along gender and party lines, and young women, in particular, 18 to 29, have skewed a lot more liberal over the last since like 1999, and the men have kind of stayed steady, but it's the biggest gap is between younger women and older women. The women in the middle have sort of stabilized a little bit, but the reason it's really an issue with the 18 to 29 is because it's causing a lot of issues in dating and mating. It's the a lot of the apps, they're kind of screening for those political leanings. Some women are putting in their bios, oh, if you voted for Trump, or if you listen to I don't know, maybe like different kind of maybe right leaning podcast, or if you watch Fox News, then swipe past me, or don't jump in my inbox. So that's another layer of screening on top of height and income and whatever other filters you want to put in there that are being put up and that are kind of keeping people from maybe finding their right person. So the kind of begs the question: how big of an issue is your partner or potential partner's political leanings, or which way they vote for? You could frame it as a values question, and that's fair. But is that a reason you would just eliminate somebody flat out? Is that a deal breaker? Well, I mean, your inbox is open. How's your filter set up? Is that a filter that you have?
It is a filter that I have. It's definitely a red flag for me. I only date black men, so I think that that matters in this conversation. Because as a black man, if you voted for Trump, then we wouldn't be compatible. It just wouldn't be something that I would want to engage in for a multitude of reasons. Because sometimes these things, especially with this kind of extremism that we're experiencing now in politics, it's like where you land is a descriptor of sometimes your morals, your ethics, your values, and your protectiveness of some of the things that I may value. So I think, yes, that there may be women that are considered more liberal, but I think we've always had to be more liberal because we were always fighting to be included. We were always fighting for rights. We were always fighting for access to resources. And so I think that women have historically been liberal. Now I think that because there is this autonomy of self without having to conform to patriarchal values of marriage, or needing to have a man to buy a house, or needing to have a man to be stable in these ways, that yes, women are more liberal. And keep in mind, right now, that's a problem for the government and the world because birth rates are severely declining. We are at a decrease in birth rates that we haven't been at, in hundreds of years. And so people are worried about that. But I think women have a right to speak up. And of course, it looks more liberal for those, but it helps weed out the snakes because if you're a Trumper, and you're okay with what's going on in the world right now and how he's handling it, then of course you couldn't date me.
I mean, I agree with Tia that I think a person's political stance can reflect their values in some stark contrast, particularly when we're in a situation where our nation is as divided as it is, and where we've reached a point that is so polarized. It's almost as though each party is more poised on the eradication of the other party and the eradication of that other party's influence in our government and our society than they are in urging the other party to do better or to move more toward a common center. And so it's really that idea of a common center, I think, that we're really having a problem with now. It's like the war of the sexes went galactic or whatever, or now maybe we're voting for because coming from different planets. It's kind of taking that men are from Mars and women are from Venus and just stretched it out. It makes sense to me, no, because the world is changing so fast right now. The way we date is changing, the way we marry is changing, the way we even raise our kids is changing. And I understand why men who are currently losing a lot of say so in the way that moves would want take a more reactionary stance, would want things to be more conservative, would want to kind of turn back the clock a little bit because, if you don't know where we're going, then yeah, you want to hit the brakes and slow down so you can kind of see a little bit before you get to wherever they're taking you. I get that. But I think the numbers are against you, fellas. I do. I think that trying to wage this war in liberal versus conservative is ridiculous. I think that everybody should start moving toward the center like you would need to do for a relationship. You know what I mean? Come on, y'all. We got to teach them how to reach across the aisle by smashing across the aisle. That's right. Smash your Republican sister and your Democratic brother and vice versa. Or maybe not your brother and your sister. How about a third cousin twice removed? Okay, I digress. But what I'm saying is, in the bonds of unity, people, let's come to just some common ground. it is going to shift. Our society is changing, but we can't pull it like a tug of war. Otherwise, our fabric will come apart. Go ahead, Nick.
So I'm gonna try to be serious for a little bit here. Because I think I look at the word liberalism and conservatism or conservative a little different, right? I think there's certain things like tradition that we hope to conserve or preserve over a period of time. So there's a logical sense that I think, even from a society standpoint, like we do not evolve as quickly as we think we do, right? I think the rate of technology may exponentially grow, but if you think about human evolution or just a human, evolution in period, it's not something that happens tomorrow. It takes generations, years. I remember I was asking a veterinarian why my dog felt the need to like run around in its little bed. I'm like, why the fuck would it doing that? It was just stamp around and stamp around. I'm like, why the fuck is he doing that? And he explained to me that like many generations ago, that dog was outside and it had to like tap around the bed to make sure there was nothing there, like that type of shit, right? And so like there is stuff that happens many generations ago that we are still kind of doing now. I think I say all this to say that I think that's what to me, conserving, maintaining over length and breadths of time, right? So, but naturally, though, things do change. I think my pushback on all this is that the liberalism side goes too far too quick. I remember I was having a conversation with one of my younger siblings about abolishing the police, for example. And I was like, okay, I get it. That was a cool idea, right? But like, how practically is that going to work exactly? So there's a certain level of like liberalism that has just gone too fucking far. Doesn't matter if it's a male or a female. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of the time it's the young people for sure. But I see it show up when it comes to relationships a lot more in women because the liberalism leads to we don't need niggas, period. Right? There's a certain level of like where it goes down this road of like fuck niggas altogether. I don't know that conservatism or niggas who are on that type of time go there. Now, granted, there's gender wars and people find reasons to say certain things, but I'm just talking about the principle of, hey, I believe in a family, I believe in a wife, I believe in the children, I believe in this kind of unit thing, which is what we've been raised on or whatever. So I want to conserve that versus how it shows up sometimes when a woman, I've heard women say this, especially the younger ones, it's like fuck niggas, fuck marriage, fuck institutions. Like some of them kids be on that type of time. So I do think there's a certain level of liberalism that you get so loose with it that you're not holding on to anything anymore. Like it's almost like you're only like there to exist in contradiction to a thing. Like, okay, I hate patriarchy so much that you rob yourself of being able to find a man or a person that you could build with for real, for real. So that's the thing that I have an issue, I think, sometimes. And yes, maybe because men are not more articulate or more open-minded. I do think considerably men are. Like, yes, I might value a wife that is more home or more traditional in that way, but does that mean I will not participate in helping to take care of my kids? Does that mean I may not like be there for you in a meaningful partnership type of way? Right? Which leads me to my other points. I think sometimes, because I've noticed this around this political age, people get so caught up in politics that it becomes more about the politics than the actual practical implications to themselves. Right? Like for me as a man, I will never be in a position to have an abortion. Right. So, yes, I can have my position on it, but I'm not going to be practically in a position where I'd have to face that. I can do the things that a man can do to avoid being put in a situation where I impregnate a woman. But at the end of the day, it's still something that affects women more disproportionately. So if I'm willing to yield a little bit because of that, that just makes practical sense to me. That's not really about being conservative. Because in my own life, if I got a woman pregnant, I would not want her to have an abortion. I'd be willing to stand up and we figure that shit the fuck out. So in my practical application of life, I could feel a certain type of way. But does that mean that I then have to cast that upon somebody else? Dig what I'm saying? So I feel like there are some people who get so down this road of like politics and the rhetoric that the calcification of the rhetoric doesn't allow them to exist as a real human being. We hear that about podcast conversations all the time. And we also see that when it comes to politics, because that's why we don't want to talk about politics at work. It's one of the most divisive. And the truth is, most of y'all don't have the bandwidth to really talk about it for real. Right? Y'all get caught up in the bell whistles of the issues and don't dig any deeper. And so yet you let no, because listen, one of the things that the Republicans do a good job of is bell whistles, whatever that word is, right? They do a
Dog
good
whistle.
job, dog whistles. They do a good job of getting people all riled up to vote against their own fucking interest because those people don't have the bandwidth to recognize what the fuck is going on. And what I'm saying is that a lot of us do that when it comes to politics. We don't even know how voting works for real. We can't tell you what the three branches of government is for real. We can't tell you how bills get passed for real. None of that shit. So we sit there and let a thing that we barely understand come in between people who might be able to love us for real, and be partners to us in a certain type of way.